So, um, back in 2024, Silicon Valley basically promised us this cognitive utopia.
Right, they really did.
Yeah, they told us that autonomous AI would, cure our decision fatigue forever. Like, we would never have to sweat over a complex spreadsheet or agonize over an email draft or manually reroute a supply chain ever again.
The machines were supposed to do the heavy lifting.
Exactly, and we would be free to just think.
Mm.
So why is it that today, and today is Thursday, May 7, 2026, why are workers suffering from a brand new, even more paralyzing type of exhaustion?
It's a huge shift.
It really is. So welcome to the deep dive. We know you're listening right now. You're a curious learner trying to navigate this incredibly overwhelming year.
Yeah, 2026 has been a lot.
Definitely. And you're looking to just cut through the noise for a real aha moment, right?
Yeah.
Without feeling completely bogged down.
And, that exhaustion you're feeling in the workplace right now, it is incredibly real.
Oh, absolutely.
It's basically the defining workplace crisis of this year. And it stems from this massive collision between our ancient biological hardware and, well, the brand new silicon workforce we've built to assist us.
Yeah, so today we are going to unpack exactly how this incredible technology, which was explicitly designed to save our mental energy, how it accidentally created a grueling new kind of cognitive tax.
Right, we're looking at some really fascinating sources today to figure this out.
We've got a massive stack of materials. We're looking at clinical research on decision fatigue, some contemporary studies on this brand new phenomenon people are calling AI brain fry.
Which is such a visceral term.
It really is. Plus, we've got massive corporate case studies from Klarna and Air Canada, and we're even pulling from some 14th century philosophy and ancient Jewish mythology.
It's quite the mix.
It is. But to understand the tech solution we built, we first have to look at the biological problem we were trying to bypass, right?
Mm-hmm.
The human brain has a hard limit. It simply cannot make endless choices.
No, it's a biological impossibility. For decades, the classical understanding of this limit was the resource model.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it was pioneered by the social psychologist Roy Baumeister. He coined the term ego depletion.
Ego depletion.
Exactly. Which basically treats human willpower and decision-making like a physical muscle. Every choice you make, from resisting the urge to check your phone to prioritizing a massive project, it flexes that muscle. And eventually, it just fails.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because I remember learning about Baumeister's famous radish versus chocolate experiment.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, it sounds like absolute psychological torture.
It was a really fascinating setup, albeit, pretty cruel.
Yeah.
Researchers brought these hungry participants into a room filled with the smell of freshly baked chocolate chip cookies.
That's just mean.
Right. And they put a bowl of those warm cookies and a bowl of raw radishes on a table. Half the participants were told, hey, you can eat the cookies.
The lucky ones.
Exactly. The other half were told they had to exert immense self-control, completely ignore the cookies, and eat the radishes instead.
Just imagining the willpower it takes to sit in a room smelling warm cookies and, chew on a raw radish. It makes me tired just thinking about it.
And that psychic cost was exactly what they were trying to measure, because the twist happened in the second phase of the experiment.
What did they do?
The researchers gave both groups a geometric puzzle to solve, but what the participants didn't know was that the puzzle was actually mathematically impossible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the people who got to eat the cookies, the ones who hadn't depleted their willpower, they kept trying to solve this impossible puzzle for an average of nearly 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes.
But the radish eaters, they quit in about 8 minutes. Their mental muscle was just completely exhausted.
So if I'm understanding this, the old model says decision fatigue is like a car literally running out of gas.
That was the idea, yeah.
But as we've studied this more recently, the consensus has shifted, hasn't it? the brain isn't actually running out of literal fuel.
Right. We used to think it was a strict glucose deficit. Like the brain burns a lot of energy-making choices, so we thought, maybe a sugary drink would magically restore your decision-making capacity.
Just drink a soda and you're fine.
Exactly. But contemporary neuroscience leans a lot more heavily into the motivational model now.
How does that one work?
Well, this framework argues that the car still has plenty of gas, but the driver is just completely sick of the commute and wants to go home.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's not an empty tank, it's just a flat-out refusal to drive.
Yeah, it's a profound cost-benefit shift. Your brain simply refuses to pay the cognitive tax of hard work anymore.
Right.
As the day wears on, the perceived utility of making a nuanced, complex decision drops off a cliff. So your brain protects itself by defaulting to the easiest, lowest effort option available.
And when we look at the real-world impact of that default behavior, The stakes are terrifying.
They really are.
If my brain defaults to the easiest option at like 8:00 p.m., I might just eat cereal for dinner. That's fine. But we have professionals making life-altering choices who are hitting this exact same biological wall.
Yes.
Like, there was that really terrifying observational study on the judicial system, right? Where judges were significantly less likely to grant parole later in the day.
Exactly, because granting parole requires an incredibly heavy cognitive lift. You have to weigh the prisoner's rehabilitation, the risk to society, all the nuances of their behavior.
It's a lot of variables.
It's massive. But keeping someone locked up, that is the safe default status quo. It requires almost zero mental effort to just say no and move on to the next case.
And we see that exact same dangerous erosion in healthcare, too. The notes mention general practitioners in the UK.
Oh, the GP data is staggering.
Yeah, they're currently managing an average of 37 patient encounters every single day. And the safety limit is generally considered to be around 25.
Right.
And for every single one of those patients, they're making about 13 distinct clinical decisions.
So that is nearly 500 clinical decisions a shift. The cognitive tax there is just staggering. And the data clearly shows what happens at around 4:00 p.m.
They hit the wall.
They hit the wall hard. Triage nurses suddenly start over-referring complex patients to the emergency department because passing the buck is the safest, lowest-effort choice.
Just get them out of my queue.
Exactly. Doctors become far less likely to initiate complex conversations about, say, preventative cancer screenings. And their rate of overprescribing antibiotics just skyrockets.
Because it's easier.
They simply lack the motivational energy to fight a complex diagnostic battle or, argue with a patient who just wants a quick fix.
Okay, so humanity essentially hit a biological ceiling. We max out and we start making terrible default choices by mid-afternoon.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why the tech world spent the last 3 years building a bypass.
Yeah.
They saw this biological flaw, and they built Agentic AI to basically do the choosing for us.
Yes, and the shift we've seen really arriving in 2026 is entirely structural. We've migrated away from those passive large language models toward autonomous, goal-oriented agents.
Because the era from, say, 2023 to 2025, which people are calling the chatbot spring now, that was fundamentally passive.
Completely passive.
You typed a prompt, the AI wrote a poem, or it generated a snippet of code or summarized an article, but it always waited for you to tell it what to do next.
Right. But the new paradigm we're in now is goal action. AI is no longer just a tool you wield, it's an active participant. It runs on a continuous, autonomous loop.
Which is perceive, reason, act, learn, right.
Exactly. You don't prompt it step by step anymore. You give it a broad horizon. You tell the agent, hey, manage my supply chain and minimize delays.
And this is where the tech supposedly cures our decision fatigue through this concept of satisficing, which, by the way, is such an interesting word.
It's a great concept.
It's like a blend of satisfying and sufficing, just finding the good enough option. Instead of a human staring at a sprawling logistical spreadsheet, paralyzing themselves trying to find the absolute perfect, optimized shipping route.
The AI just handles it.
Right. The AI evaluates millions of criteria in seconds and just executes a solution that works good enough.
And the automotive supply chain provides a brilliant example of this in action right now. Predictive AI dashboards at major automakers, they are constantly scanning global data.
Around the clock.
Right. They can detect subtle disruptions in, say, magnesium exports out of China based on obscure local news reports or weird shipping manifests months before it ever hits the mainstream financial news.
It's wild.
So the AI perceives the disruption, reasons out the impact on their specific manufacturing timeline, and acts to reroute the supply chain proactively. It entirely removes that exhausting manual risk assessment from the human's plate.
You know, reading through this example in the notes, I couldn't help but think of this 14th century paradox proposed by the philosopher Jean Buridan.
Buridan's ass.
Yes. It describes a donkey that is equally hungry and equally thirsty. And it is placed exactly halfway between a bale of hay and a pail of water.
Right.
Because the two choices are perfectly equal, the donkey's logic just breaks. It can't rationalize which one to go to first, so it just freezes in place and starves to death.
It's a classic paradox.
So my question to you is, are we the starving donkey here? Does this autonomous AI actually make us smarter, or does it just give us the tiny algorithmic nudge we need so we don't freeze to death in the cereal aisle of corporate decision-making?
It's a great way to frame it. Computer scientists actually use that exact paradox to explain choice overload.
Wait, really?
Yeah, because true choice requires an unequal evaluation. When we are presented with massive amounts of data, the options often look equally viable or, equally risky. And we freeze.
Just like the donkey.
Exactly. And AI is incredibly effective at breaking that symmetry. It provides what philosophers call petites perceptions, tiny, barely noticeable differences. It filters out the paralyzing noise and hands the human a curated, definitive action path. It unfreezes the brain so the organization can actually move forward.
But wait, if this agentic AI is successfully breaking our choice paralysis and doing all this heavy lifting, why is the modern workforce in 2026 more exhausted?
That is the massive plot twist here.
Right. The tech worked, but our brains are still burning out.
It's the great productivity paradox of our era. We successfully cured traditional decision fatigue, sure, but we replaced it with a much more insidious condition.
Which researchers are calling AI brain fry.
Yes.
Sounds so visceral. What is actually happening in our heads when we get AI brain fry?
It's a very specific type of mental exhaustion. It's caused not by making decisions from scratch, but by the relentless, grinding labor of vetting.
Vetting the AI's work.
Exactly. The fundamental nature of human work has shifted from executing tasks to performing cognitive surveillance.
Cognitive surveillance. So we aren't writing the report or routing the supply chain ourselves anymore. We're just acting as, like, quality control babysitters for a machine that is doing the work of 10 people.
Which means your workload didn't disappear.
Right. It just multiplied tenfold.
And human biology is deeply ill-equipped for cognitive surveillance. Cognitive scientists call this the vigilance decrement.
The vigilance decrement.
Yeah, our brains are evolved for active engagement. We are terrible at passively monitoring a system for rare errors. Imagine a security guard staring at a bank of video monitors for 8 straight hours where nothing ever happens.
You just zone out completely.
The brain naturally zones out, so when you force a human to passively monitor multiple AI dashboards, just waiting to catch a subtle hallucination, the brain exhausts itself incredibly quickly.
So there's a limit to how much we can monitor.
Yes, the data shows a hard productivity ceiling. Human performance actively and sharply declines when a worker tries to manage more than 3 concurrent AI tools.
3 tools. Because we just can't maintain executive control over that many opaque autonomous systems at once.
It's too much.
And this is leading to what psychologists and the sources are calling detrimental cognitive offloading, which I find genuinely terrifying for people just entering the workforce right now.
Oh, it's a huge issue for junior staff.
Yeah, because junior employees are using these agents to churn out incredibly high-quality outputs.
Yeah.
Complex market analyses, legal briefs, thousands of lines of code, but they possess this false mastery.
They get the A+ result without doing any of the foundational work. The physical act of drafting a document or wrestling with a really bad line of code, that is where the human brain builds its thinking infrastructure.
Right. You learn by doing.
Exactly. If you offload the struggle to the machine, you never build the neural pathways required to actually understand the output you just submitted to your boss.
Wow.
And what's fascinating here is how the fundamental nature of the errors we make in the workplace has completely flipped.
How so?
Well, when a human worker is tired, they make errors of omission, they forget a step, or they make an obvious clumsy typo. But when we rely on fatigued humans monitoring AI, we are dealing with a system that makes confidently wrong errors.
Confidently wrong. I love that phrasing.
And because of a well-documented psychological phenomenon called automation bias, humans inherently trust the machine's output.
Because it sounds so incredibly sure of itself. It never stutters. It presents a completely hallucinated legal precedent with the exact same authoritative tone as a real one.
The research actually shows that employees who have the most positive, optimistic view of AI are at the highest risk of being dangerously misled.
Wait, really? The biggest fans are the most vulnerable?
Yes. They lose the critical friction required to discriminate between reality and an AI hallucination. They just wave the output through because, well, it looks professional.
And that confident wrongness isn't just a minor annoyance anymore. Like, by mid-2026, it has triggered massive, highly public corporate crises.
Definitely.
Companies are dealing with what the industry calls agentic drift.
Agentic drift is incredibly insidious because it is completely silent. Traditional software fails loudly, right?
Right.
If a legacy program breaks, you get a stack trace, a glaring error message, or the program simply crashes, you know immediately that you need to fix it.
Yeah, you get the blue screen of death. It demands your attention right then and there.
But AI agents do not crash, they drift.
They drift.
Yes. A sales agent might work flawlessly on launch day, But over the next few weeks, the raw data it pulls from the internet shifts slightly, or a connected API updates its
So the
parameters.
environment changes.
Exactly. The machine learning weights subtly degrade. The agent doesn't stop working, it just starts acting strangely. It might start sending incredibly confident but completely inaccurate pricing emails to your top prospective clients.
Oh, no.
And it will happily poison your sales pipeline for 3 weeks before a human finally catches the drift.
Because there is no error message telling you it's broken.
Hmm.
We saw this blow up spectacularly in the customer service sector.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Klarna case study from the materials.
Clarn.
In 2024, Klarna was paraded as the absolute poster child for AI integration.
They really were. They proudly announced that their AI assistant handled 2.3 million customer service chats in a single month.
That's a massive volume.
It was doing the equivalent work of 700 full-time human representatives. And it cut the average resolution time from 11 minutes down to just 2 minutes.
Okay, wait, I have to ask. If the AI is genuinely doing the work of 700 people that efficiently, why are we talking about this as a failure? That math sounds like a corporate dream.
Because those initial numbers masked a massive underlying failure in quality. By the beginning of 2026, Klarna had to abruptly reverse course.
What happened?
The AI was brilliant at handling simple binary issues, like resetting a password or tracking a package, but it failed miserably on complex, emotional Tier 3 escalation.
Okay, what exactly happens in a Tier 3 escalation?
Think about a customer calling in absolute panic because of a fraudulent charge, or someone trying to navigate a sensitive financial hardship claim.
Oh, so high stress.
Very high stress. These situations require human empathy, nuance, and the ability to sometimes bend rigid policies. The AI couldn't handle the edge cases at all.
I can imagine.
It would clinically quote terms of service to a crying customer or hallucinate a rigid policy that didn't even exist. Frustrated customers ended up calling back 3 or 4 times for the exact same issue.
So efficiency actually went down.
Completely. Their repeat contact rates skyrocketed, which drove the total cost per resolution right back up. They had to aggressively retreat to a hybrid model where humans govern the complex emotional issues.
Wow, and if Klarna is a cautionary tale about efficiency, the Air Canada precedent we looked at is absolutely terrifying for corporate liability.
It fundamentally changed how organizations deploy these tools.
Yeah. So in 2024, a grieving customer used the Air Canada website chatbot to ask about bereavement fares. The chatbot completely hallucinated a fake policy and promised the customer a retroactive discount. And when the customer tried to claim it, the airline refused to honor what the bot had promised. So it went to a civil tribunal. And here's where it gets really interesting.
The defense they used.
Air Canada's legal defense in that tribunal was wild. They actually argued in court that the chatbot was a separate legal entity that was responsible for its own actions.
Which is just astounding.
That is like a student failing a math test and telling the teacher to suspend their calculator. I mean, you can't blame the tool.
And the judge had a very similar reaction. He called the airline's defense nonsense and ruled entirely in favor of the customer.
As he should.
But that ruling established a massive precedent. It meant that every single AI deployment is a direct liability exposure for the company.
Right.
There is no shielding yourself behind the algorithm. The company is on the hook for every single hallucination.
So companies are suddenly burdened with this massive maintenance tax, right? The cost of maintaining output logs, running constant human oversight, and policing the AI. It sounds like such a uniquely 2026 problem, struggling to govern a powerful, autonomous, but fundamentally unthinking workforce.
It feels modern, sure, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, human beings have actually been terrified of this exact dynamic for centuries.
Really?
Oh yeah, our mythology is full of warnings about it. Take the ancient Jewish folklore of the golem.
Oh, the creature made of mud or clay, right?
Yes, it's brought to life by mystical incantations to protect the community. Now, the golem is immensely powerful and absolutely tireless. It never needs to sleep.
Sounds like an AI agent.
Exactly. But it lacks a soul, and it has absolutely no common sense. It follows orders with blind, literal obedience and zero understanding of context or consequence.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Well, if you tell the golem to fetch water from the well, it will carry buckets back and forth forever, mindlessly flooding your entire house because you didn't explicitly tell it when to stop.
Oh, wow. That perfectly illustrates the modern alignment problem in artificial intelligence, doesn't it?
It does.
The machine isn't evil. It's just relentlessly literal. It optimizes for the metric you gave it, like speed or chat volume, without any human wisdom or conscience to realize it's flooding the house.
Exactly. And we also see shadows of the myth of Sisyphus and all this.
Sisyphus, Chamisa's famous allegory of the man doomed by the gods to push a massive boulder up a steep hill for eternity.
Right, only to watch it roll back down every single time he nears the top.
And today, Sisyphus is the modern professional.
He really is.
The daily grind is no longer doing the actual creative work. The grind is the soul-crushing cycle of debugging. You carefully prompt the agent, you get it working perfectly, the boulder is at the top of the hill,
And then,
and then agentic drift happens, the data shifts, the bot hallucinates a fake bereavement fare, the boulder rolls all the way back down, and you have to start the cognitive surveillance all over again.
these myths survive because they warn us about human nature. The real existential danger we face right now isn't necessarily that machines become malevolent, self-aware terminators.
Right, it's not Skynet.
No, the immediate danger is that we willingly surrender our own judgment to creatures of pure logic that completely lack a moral compass.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We obviously cannot uninvent the golem. The AI is here to stay,
It's not going anywhere.
and nobody wants to spend their career being Sisyphus. So how do we actually survive this transition and adapt our daily lives?
The survival guide for 2026 really starts with adopting a concept called anti-fragility.
Anti-fragility.
Yeah, it's not enough to build systems that are just robust enough to withstand disorder. You have to build workflows that actually use chaos and disorder to get stronger.
Okay, how do we do that practically?
We have to stop trying to automate everything blindly. Instead, intentionally design an architecture for how we make choices. And the best tool for this is the decision budget.
The decision budget. This is a strategy that leaders like Steve Jobs used to use manually, right? Like wearing the exact same black turtleneck every single day to save his brain power.
Exactly like that.
But now we can scale it using AI.
Exactly. The decision budget breaks your professional and personal life into 4 distinct tiers of cognitive energy.
Okay, break them down for us.
Tier 1 is routine, low-risk decisions. Scheduling meetings, sorting inbox spam, basic data entry. You fully automate these with AI agents. Let the golem fetch the water.
Perfect. Tier 2.
Tier 2 is high volume, moderate risk. This is where you use predictive AI to satisfy.
Right, finding the good enough option.
Yes. If you are doing initial market research or planning business travel logistics, let the AI find the good enough option. You don't need perfection, you just need it done.
But then we get to the dangerous territory, right? Tier 3. Complex, high-risk decisions.
For Tier 3, you implement strict human-in-the-loop synthesis. You use the AI to generate options or draft a proposal, but a human must actively vet, edit, and override the final product.
And then the final tier.
Finally, Tier 4, mission critical. This requires absolute human sovereignty, no autonomous execution allowed at all.
Like what kind of decisions?
Hiring or firing an employee, making a massive pivot in corporate strategy, or handling a delicate emotional crisis like Klarna had to deal with.
Right.
This is where your human judgment, your empathy, and your moral compass must be entirely insulated from the algorithm.
And we are seeing organizations build structural defenses around this too. You mentioned earlier the hard biological limit of cognitive surveillance hitting a wall at 3 AI tools.
Yes, the limit is real.
Companies are now strictly limiting spans of control, meaning no human employee is allowed to manage more than 3 AI agents at a time to prevent that vigilance decrement from burning them out.
Which is a very smart policy.
We're also seeing a push for a 30% digital mindset. Like every single employee needs enough technical fluency to interrogate the data and confidently know when the algorithms drift in.
They have to be able to spot the drift.
We're even seeing the chief AI officer moved out of the IT department and placed directly onto the operating committee alongside the CEO.
And that organizational shift is crucial. It ensures that the AI's integrity is directly aligned with the company's core mission, not just operating in some silo to cut costs.
Exactly.
To synthesize what we've explored today, AI has successfully cured the volume problem of decision fatigue. We no longer have to burn our brain's energy on 1,000 micro-choices a day.
That's the good news.
But it has replaced that fatigue with the heavy tax of cognitive surveillance. In 2026, your ultimate competitive advantage in the marketplace is not your technical firepower. AI leveled that playing field entirely.
So what is the advantage now?
Your advantage is your human judgment, your capacity for deep, sustained attention, and your ability to navigate a high-stakes emotional crisis with absolute clarity.
So, for you listening, your goal for this week shouldn't be to eliminate decisions from your life entirely. Your goal is to intentionally design an architecture of choice. You automate the noise so you have the mental energy reserved for what actually matters.
Beautifully said.
But, looking at all these case studies today, there is a lingering thought I really can't quite shake.
What's that?
Well, if we successfully use this decision budget to outsource all of our routine low-stakes choices to AI, will our decision-making muscles be totally atrophied when that one massive, mission-critical life choice inevitably comes our way?
That is the million-dollar question.
By relying on the machine to filter the world for us? Are we resting our minds, or are we just forgetting how to choose? Think about that the next time an algorithmic agent offers to auto-resolve your day. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the consensus, and we'll see you next time.